Reminder, does anybody remember the phrase that we use to help us remember? SOHCAHTOA. All right, so when we do it, think about SO as sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, and then tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. So if you remember your SOHCAHTOA that way, that'll help.
I kind of enjoyed this.
Yeah, most, it's one of those basic things in life in terms of when you're good at it, you tend to enjoy it, and you guys did very well on this part.
Yeah.
So that's why you probably like it. You have good memories of it, okay?
All right.
All right? So like, for example, baseball. Are you pretty good at baseball?
Sure.
And that's why you like it,
That's what it's
right?
Does
Does that make sense?
Next year, I'm quitting.
Okay. What?
Yeah.
Why?
That's not good.
I'm doing track.
Oh.
Are you actually?
Okay, all right, second part is reminder that we talked about basic concepts in terms of solving. Number one, we said to always label your sides as opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. Okay, and then that helps with step two. You have to decide whether or not you're going to use sine, cosine, or tangent. Okay, and that'll be all based upon what you do in number one in terms of labeling your sides. Okay, so that's what I just mean by the sign question mark. Are you going to use sine, cosine, tangent? And then number three, remember that we talked about the idea of using cross multiplication in order to try and solve. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at example number one. Okay? So the first thing it says to do is to label our sides. So what would we label the 10 as?
Hypotenuse. H.
Okay, what would we label the x as?
Opposite.
Okay, and remember, we're always talking about the angle that's given. So the 50 degrees. So the x is opposite the 50. The y is the adjacent. All right, so when we go to solve for x, we're going to ignore the y for right now. So I'm just going to cross it out, okay, and then I'll put it back in. All right, what trig function would use O and H?
So.
Okay, so therefore we're going to do sine of 50 degrees is equal to the opposite x over the hypotenuse 10. Any problems there? Okay, we said to take the sine and put a 1 underneath it so that way we can use the idea of cross multiplying. 1 times x is x, and then 10 times sine 50 gives us 10 sine 50. Type in 10 sine 50 on your calculator.
76.77. Did you got it?
7.66 we have over here.
What?
7.66.
Type it in again.
No.
I have 7.66.
You should get 7.66. Okay? All right? All right, so now we're going to ignore the x since we already figured out what it is. Okay, and we're going to solve for y. The y has an a and the hypotenuse is h. What trig function are we going to use now? Co. So cosine of 50 degrees is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Again, take your trig function, put a 1 underneath it so that you can cross multiply. 1 times y is y, and then 10 times cos 50 is 10 cos 50. And Spencer already got a
6.42.
6.42. Anybody else?
That's what I got.
Or 6.43?
6.24.
42, but the sides would be.
So maybe 6.43?
Yeah, 6.43.
All right, so 6.43. Okay?
If we're
And-
off by that, will you take a point
No.
off?
Okay, and then just a minor little reminder, okay, is remember that the other angle would be 40 degrees. So if side y is 6.43 and side x is 7.66, it makes sense for two reasons. Number one, both of them are less than 10. Why is that important? The hypotenuse always has to be the biggest, okay? Next is understand, remember, the smaller the angle, the smaller the size. So since 40 degrees is the smallest angle, the 6 should be the smallest side length. And then since 50 is bigger than the 7.6, should be bigger than the side opposite the 40. Okay? All right, example number 2. Okay? okay? So the first thing we said to do is label our sides. What's the y? X,
Opposite.
13, okay? So we're gonna ignore the y for right now, and we're gonna only focus on the x and the 13. What trig function uses O and A? Tan. So tan of 35 degrees is equal to the opposite x over the hypotenuse 13. Go, solve for x, tell me what you get.
Whoa, how come you have hypotenuse?
I mean, sorry, the adjacent 13. Okay? So big reminder on this one is, and we talked about this before, is remember, anytime the variable is in the numerator, you multiply. Anytime the variable is in the denominator, remember that you are going to eventually end up dividing by the trig function. So just a couple of reminders there, okay? All right, okay? All right, so the goal here is to be able to find the area, and we're using trigonometry in order to do that. So Ryan, what's the area formula for a triangle?
A equals base times
Half base times
height.
height.
Divided by 2. All right. Do we know the base or the height?
You know the height is 12.
We know the height is equal to 12. So we need to figure out the base. So do we need to solve for y? No. So don't worry about solving for y for right now. Okay, let's just focus on finding the area. All right, with the people at your table, solve for x, and then go and find the area.
I have a question.
Okay?
I forgot how you find the opposite of adjacent.
Okay, so based upon the 47 degrees being here,
Is that then 12 is the opposite?
12 is directly opposite.
Okay, so it's just whatever's.
Y is the,
Is
The
it
hypotenuse.
and we don't care about that one. So then, yeah, so what trig function are you gonna use? Which one uses O and A? TOA.
Okay,
Okay.
but, so it's just opposite the angle or whatever.
Yeah, so if you can ever draw an arrow straight across, that represents your opposite. All right, what are we getting for the x value?
I got you.
11.2? Everybody good with 11.2? So then therefore area is equal to 12 times 11.2 divided by 2? 66.6.
Devil.
We good? Any questions?
Whoa, were you doubting me right there? I think she was.
No, I'm just making sure that everyone got the same thing.
What do we get?
66.6.
We got 67.2.
So 11.2 times 12 divided by 2. I got 67.2. How about 67.2, Ryan?
What? For what reason?
Well, type in 12 times,
We rounded up. and you didn't.
oh, he didn't, okay, that's why. Got it. So there you go.
That's still right?
So try and round if you know, come on.
It's okay, Ryan.
I think we got this page too.
You good? Okay, so then go page, okay? And with the people at your table, see if you can find the area of number 12. Making sure you did the following. You drew in this line so you formed a right triangle. You understand that this is x, and you understand that this length here is 4. Because this is a 3.
Alright.
Okay? So if you didn't do that, do that. Solve for x. What does x represent in terms of our trapezoid? The height. Okay?
the shape?
What'd you get?
24.5.
Right. Or 24.7. Okay? So tangent of 51 is equal to x over 4. Cross multiply, x equals 4 tan 51. What'd you get for x?
4.9, yeah.
4.9, 4.94, so 4.9. And now your area ends up equaling the bases, 3 plus 7, times the height, 4.9, and then divided by 2. So you get 10 times 4.9, which is 49. 49 divided by 2 gives us 24.5. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay? Do we need to do another one like that?
No,
I think we're fine.
You're good?
no. So
Yes.
what?